Hello, my lovelies, and a very warm welcome to Tuesday Night Live with me, Boaty, and I'm going to be here with you for the next 59 minutes at the very least. And it's nothing less than a sheer orgasmic joy to be with you all, of course. And here we go, Tuesday night. Normal rules apply, normal stuff. How you doing? How's your day been? What have you been eating? What have you been up to? Throw it all at me and I will juggle it around. Let's pull our pants down and see what goes up the flagpole or something like that. Good evening, Boaty, says Jimmy Quinn. Hiya, Jimmy, Lord Stiff Upper Lip. Hi, I'm LSUL and welcome to my world. Well, thank you, Lord Stiff Upper Lip. It's a joy to be part of your doings. The delectable M11. The delectable M11 is here, no doubt lounging around in her bed, largely naked and probably covered in scampy fry crumbs for all that I know. Oh, actually, well, no, I don't know what you had for dinner, but I know what you had for lunch, didn't you? A small portion of pasta bake, I believe. Talking about lunch, I mean, let's get in there early. As those of you who are members of the amazing Facebook group, Boaty's World on Facebook, search for it, join it, thumb your nose at it, and do whatever you like. Those of you who are members of the old Facebook group will know that, as promised, I had my leftover beef with some really nice homemade chips. Oh, God, they were fabulous. They were fabulous. And some fried onion and a nice boozy 3 peppercorn sauce. And if you're interested in the specific makeup of my sauce au poivre, then I can tell you that the peppercorns in question were, get ready, black peppercorns, green peppercorns, and white peppercorns. Now, the black and white peppercorns, they were crushed. The green peppercorns, I put them in whole. Oh, yeah, baby. Huh. Peter P is with us. Good evening, all. Matron is here. Good evening, all. It's that time of night when I can disrobe, put my feet up on my desk and make inappropriate comments so that the live stream gets demonetized. It might not have been you, Matron. Last night's live stream got demonetized, so that's 26p that neither I nor Matron nor the M11 are ever going to see again. But hey ho, hey ho. Neil Gibbons is here, also known, of course, as the Gibbon hater. Nobody knows why he hates Gibbons. Perhaps it's because he was named after them. We don't know. And quite frankly, we shouldn't pry. It's none of our business. Neil hating Gibbons does nobody else any harm. Well, possibly apart from Gibbons. But then, even though he lives in Dudley, Gibbons are not a regular sight. I mean, there's probably some in the zoo, but they're unlikely to be roaming around on the streets. So it's not like Neil can plough the Gibbons down in his AA van in a rage of mad hatred. That really can't happen. I mean, he could hit a badger, and I've seen a couple of badgers on the side of the road lately. It made me think. Now, and this is absolutely true. When I drove past a badger that it had been killed, quite frankly. Sorry if you're of a weak and nervous disposition, but this badger had been struck by a vehicle and that had ended its life. Now, the badger was to the curb. Whether it was knocked to the curb by the vehicle or whether some kind soul moved it so it didn't get completely deconsecrated, I don't know. But there it was by the side of the curb. And I did what I normally do when I see a dead badger or, other dead creatures. And I drove past and I went, oh, literally out loud. I always do. I saw it and I went, oh, and but then I just carried on with my journey and probably didn't give it much of a second thought. I'm giving it a bit of a second thought now. And it got me to wondering whether it becomes like, because of course you become like that for, I mean, there's I mean, you become inured to it because it's a common sight, right? So you're not going to lose your shit over a dead badger because they're a common sight on our roadside, sadly. Sadly. But equally, hopefully, you haven't completely lost your humanity. So your humanity is going to make you go, oh, like that. But then the fact that you're inured to the sight of this means that you're not going to dwell on it. And I wondered, what if you're a Ukrainian dentist who was called up or, decided that as a fit man, given that your country's been invaded, you're going to go to war. You're going to go to war. You're going to go and fight. And I wondered, in that situation, do you walk through the battlefield and see the dead bodies of either your comrades or the enemy? And do you get to the stage where you have that same thing and you just go, oh, and then just carry on? Or do you even go one stage further? And if it's an enemy's body, just think, good, that's one we got, isn't it? And I don't know why I was thinking about that, but I was thinking about it. So there you are. I've been thinking about other things as well, and I'm going to talk about them tonight. Anyway, Neil says, hello all, how are we getting on today? Boaty, how were the dreams last night? To be honest, Neil, I was so knackered, but I had another one of those nights where I didn't finish my curry, and it was curry I paid for from Istanbul, and I didn't finish my wine. So I must have been, I wasn't overly drunk, that much I do know, but I was seriously tired. As I keep going on about it, I'm always tired on a Monday anyway, because, of the weekend. I was particularly tired yesterday because I set an alarm. I got up early because I wanted to make sure I was at the yard in good time. And then we did a 3-hour live stream. So I assumed that I was just knackered, possibly fell asleep at the table, possibly not. But either way, I don't remember this, by the way, not through drunkenness for once, but just through sheer tiredness. So I must have just abandoned my supper, abandoned my wine, just got upstairs and, dragged my clothes off and fallen into bed. And I knew something like that had happened because I woke up this morning and there wasn't a handkerchief by the side of my bed. And I always take a handkerchief to bed. I'm a man who likes to be well prepared in the handkerchief stakes. Like your mother taught you, one for blow, one for show. So I always take a handkerchief to bed. Of course I do. And I woke up and there wasn't one. So I had to blow my nose on my discarded T-shirt. Needs must when the devil farts in your face. And I came downstairs and I thought, oh, uneaten curry, naan bread, uneaten. I mean, I ate most of it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't finish it. And I'm a man who always finishes my food. Because my grandmother, if I left a speck on the plate, my grandmother would say that there are children starving around the world who would give anything for that bit of food that you can't be bothered to eat. Except she said it, quite frankly, in a Welsh accent. Or she might have actually said it in Welsh when I was very young, and Welsh was the language of the house. And I used to think, well, I've had enough to eat. I didn't particularly like it. And if you can find a way to transport it to these enormously hungry children, go for it. I've got no objection. But like so many things that you get told when you're a child, it goes in one ear and straight down to your soul. So I'm a man that finishes my food. And also, that's also true because 99 times out of 100, I cook my own food and I am a bloody good cook. And I enjoy the food. So I eat every last little bit of it. But last night I didn't. There was about 1/5 or 1/6 that I didn't eat, I would estimate. So I knew I'd gone to bed really tired. And I don't recall dreaming at all. As far as I'm aware, it was a deep, dreamless, peaceful sleep. And I can say that because I had nobody in my bed with me last night. Had I had somebody in bed with me last night, they would no doubt tell you that that I ground my teeth, spoke in my sleep, farted, thrashed about, and snored like a stuck pig. But there wasn't anybody. So as far as I'm concerned, it was a deep, happy, peaceful night's sleep. But thank you for asking. Oh, and the M11, I missed that comment. Hey, scrumptious Boaty. Hello. Long time no see. Indeed. Are you missing me tonight or enjoying the piece? I'm missing you. Of course I'm missing you. Oh, cheers, darlings. You're good health. Sorry, I didn't toast you. I'll be missing the loads of extra views that we get when you're with me as well. I did, matron, didn't I? Not in that sense. Bad Books is here and says, good evening, all. Oh my God, he's stolen Mr. Floyd's jacket, says Steve Cold. And Peter P had beef burgundy today, and it was very tasty. Right, I'm guessing that's a typo, beef burgundy, or is beef burgundy a dish? I'm guessing it's beef bourguignon, but let me know if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, it would be very tasty if it was beef bourguignon. Not something that I can eat. It's got red wine in it, and I'm allergic. Let's see how long we can keep the roses alive. Yeah, well, I'm not sure I'd classify them as entirely alive, but they're not too obviously dead. They are long dead, Steve Colg, says Matron. And then Matron has a little giggle at Gibbon Hater. The M11 says, hey, Boaty, you did not read my hello message. I have now. Sorry, I missed it. Tracy, don't tell him, says Steve Colg. Two Strings says the funky Gibbon. And you know, I was thinking about that tonight. I was thinking, as I was driving home, I was thinking about Neil, because I often do, you know. I was thinking, and I was genuinely thinking about playing the funky Gibbon as the intro thing. If you're not familiar with the funky Gibbon, it was a comedy record done by the Goodies, which were Tim Brooke Taylor, Bill Oddie, and Graham Garden, who were originally both part of the Cambridge Footlights and part of Monty Python's Flying Circus. But they branched off and did their own thing and became the Goodies. And they had a hit record with the funky Gibbon. And I thought I might play it in Neil's honor as an intro. But then I thought, well, I'm seeing him next week and he's staying here and he might sit on my head. So I thought I better not. But great minds think alike there, Two Strings. What? Oh, ping him, M11, and smack his body. One pump and there will be rose confetti all over the room, says Peter P. You had gone to bed, Two Strings, says Matron. That may be true, says Neil. The M11 said he read my name and went off on a fantasy about me being naked in bed, covered in scampi fries, and that was it. Sometimes, darling, I have a mind like a dropped hose. It writhes about and goes in every direction but the one in which it ought to. Some would call that a result, M11, says Peter P. And Two Strings will be going to bed soon after he's gone, ooh, 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 the funky Gibbon. I bet Neil doesn't know what that is. He's too young. Evening all, says Barry Scrotter. Imagine him naked. Jesus H. Christ. And that's DJ Policy P. Neil will be around to beat you up later, Andy. And that's aimed at Two Strings. And then Matron says hello to Policy P. The Funky Gibbon has been my nickname for years, says Neil. You should have picked it up, says Steve Cole, talking about the badger. Cooked it and got a few thousand redneck subs. Oh, dear. I'm going camping with Neil, says Matron. He might beat me up instead for me to pass on to you, Two Strings. No, Trace, says Neil. I'll bring some wax strips and take you up on that offer I made the other night. Oh, dear God. Dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Good video today, Boaty, says Jimmy Quinn. Looking forward to the next one. That's very kind. I'm assuming that some of you will have watched today's video, which is the first of 3 featuring TV and Top Gear Steve Berry. What? He's a lovely guy. He genuinely is a lovely guy. I loved yesterday at the yard. We had the best day. I laughed like a drain. So yeah, you've seen the one video. Video number 2 is the drive back from Istanbul to the yard, where Top Gear Steve Berry drives my Rover 45 V6 Connoisseur and tells us about his television and many other things. And then video number 3, which will be on Thursday night in the 1919 slot, will be the full lunch video. And I would recommend that you watch it because he is hideously and wonderfully indiscreet about his Top Gear colleagues. And he doesn't entirely tell, but he hints at some stories that are really rather on the salacious side, particularly about James May and his appetite for pottering when filming on location. I did warn him. I said, look, seriously, be aware that it does go out unexpurgated and unedited. So don't say anything that you don't want out there. Yeah, don't worry about that. And then he banged off and said that all of the traffic announcers on the BBC are failed actresses, started dishing the dirt on James May and all sorts. It was wonderful. So yeah, that will be part 3, the full lunch video. That will be going out Thursday night in the 1919 slot. It's not one to be missed. Let me assure you of that. It's going to be by far the best do lunch with video, I think. Or, well, maybe not the best, but probably the most interesting. And a lot of it is just me and Mustard absolutely helplessly laughing our asses off. I mean, we didn't get too far in before we just lost it and gave up trying to keep it sensible. And we were just leaning on the table, crying with laughter, and left him to it. We did film after the lunch, but that is pretty much all Mustard's stuff. So Mustard will have films going out as well. Because after lunch, we all went out in Nigel, and Mustard directed the lovely Steve and got him to do some pieces to camera and all of that sort of thing. I was told to sit in the back seat and be quiet. Yeah, good luck with that. Where are we? So there we are. Yeah. How are you, Two Strings RTM11? Sod it, Trace, says Neil. I'll share the tent with you. No problem. I'll be the little spoon, though. God. Wax strips. You can do me legs and that's it, says Matron. Actually, we could play a dare game with wax strips as punishment. Didn't the goodies sing the funky Gibbon, says DJ Palsy P? Whenever I read Gibbon, not need Gibbon, I think of that song. So do I. I think anybody does who's of a certain age. And yet it was the goodies. Little spoon, I only have short arms and legs. I couldn't rise around you, Neil. And Two Strings is telling the M11 that, yeah, he did watch a little bit of last night. Neil the Gibbon ate her. Oh, dear. Boaty, get a doll. Mustard's got you one. Oh, has he? How very sweet. Maitland says she's probably wondering whether she should be bringing in. Oh dear, right, yes. And it. What? Oh, did he really get a doll? Right. I'm guessing it's one of it. Oh, and apparently everybody liked the doll. Right. Okay, I'm guessing that was his daughter's. Yes, it was beef bourguignon, says Peter P. I thought so. I got a mustard point today, says Peter P. Very chuffed. John Stoodley is with us and says, evening chat, evening Boaty mate. Hope everyone's okay tonight. I got another fart added to my collection, says Matron. I think that's terrible. I think it's so uncouth to break wind in front of other people. But then, of course, mustard is northern, and I can't say that. And he has a wonderfully puerile sense of humour. And he's got a very childish sense, which I adore him for. He's got a very childish sense that everything's okay. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, everything's going to be okay. I love that. It makes him very optimistic and fun company. Although obviously I know he's not going to be watching this, so I don't have to be nice about him. I can tell you the truth. Oh, excuse me. Steve Gold says, did Steve Berry have handcuffs on in the back of the 45? It looked like it. No, he did not. Evening. Oh, Jesus. Right, I've got hiccups now, haven't I? Oh, God, here we go. Another professional broadcast from Boaty. Wonderful. Neil is wondering what the group thinks of him. Ross says, good evening, all. And Jimmy Quinn says, you're a good old boy, Neil. And M11 says, a very good boy. A very, very good boy. But a Gibbon hater, says Peter P. Oh, well. Looking forward to seeing what Steve makes of the caravan, says Alan Simpson. All will be revealed. I'm not a Gibbon hater, says Neil. I'm a Gibbons. Oh, Simone is here and says hello. Joke time, says DJ Palsy P. I stumbled upon a secret graveyard once. It was a dead giveaway. Ross says Milkston Road, blimey, looks like downtown Beirut. He's not wrong. Yeah, I can't believe. Yeah, he did say that. He did go there, and he's from bloody Manchester. So, Boaty, relax with the comments, says Steve Cole. You're moving too fast. I'm not used to this. Hi, everyone, says Sophie. How are we this lovely evening? I hope everybody's wonderful. I've just been for a pee, says Simone. And Sophie says, it looks like I'm on my own in the tent. Oh, yeah. No, you want to watch it? Your man is threatening to do all sorts of things to Matron. How was your day, Soph, says the M11. I remember you had an early start. Oh, yeah, it was a course, wasn't it? Also, my course told me, Sophie, that I had to go in at 9:30 and had another lesson at 10 till 2. Well, that's a long lesson, isn't it? Mr. Stephen Paddy from Port Sunlight in the Whittle, the Leisure Peninsula, says, how has your day been, Jason? And I enjoyed watching your video on YouTube today. Also, what car was that Steve Top Gear man driving? Also, did it seem funny, Steve, driving your motor? My day's been fine. Thank you for asking. Quite enjoyable. Fantastic lunch, quite honestly. The car that Steve was driving was Dick a Dum Dum, aka Sir Richard and Lady Morris. In other words, my 2003 pre-facelift Rover 45 V6 connoisseur. And no, it didn't seem odd, Steve driving it, to be honest. Didn't really seem odd at all. The what was good fun, Steve really behaved himself in my car, despite, as you will see in tomorrow's video, Mustard urging him to go absolutely mental. But funnily enough, when we were out driving Nigel, Then Mustard jumped out of the car. Oh, and we had walkie-talkies. We've got walkie-talkies now, thanks to the wonderful Kevin Craven. We used those, didn't we? So Mustard jumped out of the car to film some drive-by shots. So it's just Steve and me and Nigel. And with Mustard being out of there and not filming, then when Steve was out of sight of the camera, he went properly mental in Nigel. It was absolutely brilliant. He was lit, tires screaming, on two wheels going about the roundabouts. It was brilliant. It was real hoonery. And that was great. I enjoyed that. But he very much behaved himself in Dick-a-Dum-Dum. He drove like he drove like a vicar on his way to church on a Sunday morning. It's fine, says Matron. He's not coming in my tent. He's got wax strips, and that's aimed at Soph. Oh, and Soph says, and they stressed me out. I had to do a test, and I didn't know I had to do something on a computer and do my English and maths for the apprenticeship and get the job. Oh, blimey. Well, yeah, that crept up on you. Hope you did all right, Soph. Hope you dealt with it. I'll stock up on Mr. Boaty's pottering lube and willy waving cloths for the camping trip, says Neil. Curry lube, perhaps, says Peter P. Boaty, at least you're not blind like Mustard. Yeah, well, he's much older than me. It's natural that his body would have degenerated more than mine has. I mean, the years do take their toll. Although I am heading that way myself, there's no question that my eyes are not what they are. If in dim light, like it is here, I don't know how it comes across on camera, but believe me, it's the lighting in here is really very dim. That's the ambience that I like, that I enjoy. If I'm working, that's what I thrive in. But when it comes to reading small text, I'm even starting to struggle a bit on the old iPad now. I'd have no chance on a phone like Mustard tries to do. Boaty, get your merch out, says the M11, and you would make a fortune from Neil alone and add wax strips. So says, I know, Boaty, tell me about it. I had words, lol. Drive him to Specsavers on a Monday, says Steve Cog. He's got glasses, hasn't he? What car did Steve arrive in when he came to visit? Asked Alan Simpson. Right. You want some behind the scenes stuff? Well, I can tell you that he arrived in a Jaguar X-Type estate. And the last time he came to the yard, he also came in that same car. He just bought it. But when we let him into the yard yesterday, we noticed that the rear bumper was all smashed in and half missing. So we gave him some gentle joshing about that. But it turned out that he'd left it overnight in a car park when he was doing a speaking engagement. And somebody had actually tried to steal the bumper. Now, why anybody would want to steal the bumper on an 06 plate X-Type estate, God only knows. They did. They tried to steal it, couldn't get it off, tried to rip it off, and then they might have been disturbed because they just gave up and ran away. So when Steve arrived at the car, it was just half of the bumper was ripped off and there on the ground beside it. But he's got a cunning plan. I love how down to earth he is. He's seen an X-Type estate on Facebook Marketplace, bit knackered, but the rear bumper is okay, and it was 400 quid, and it's been reduced to 300 quid. So he's going to buy that, nick the bumper off it, and then he's got a scrap quote from his local scrapper for 351 quid. For scraps. He's going to take the bumper off, scrap it, and make 51 quid profit on it. You can take the boy out of Manchester. Oh, Alan, a Citroen, says Deagle. No, he sold the Citroen. He sold the CX. Sophie says, my phone is on 10%. I'm on red with Neil. Mustard's got 25 vision, says Deagle. HW100 or HW Song or HW Chentor says, hi, Boaty. How about some potted history of Boaty videos? What, more of them? More of them. Sherry is here. What would you like in particular, HW100? Because I've done a few. So tell me what more that you would like, and I will happily do them. Sherry says, I wanted to tell you that last night the live stream came across horizontally. And in my case, at least, it didn't provide the chance to comment it or do a like. Did that happen to anyone else? Yeah, we have to do the lives vertically, Sherry, because if you're doing a joint live on YouTube, they only allow you to do it vertically. Wouldn't be my preference. But we had loads of comments, thousands of comments, literally, and many, many likes. So there's obviously a way of doing it, and everybody figured it out, and I guess you didn't. Steve Cook says, did you ask how many cars Steve has? No, I didn't particularly. You don't need to ask Steve anything. He tells you before you can think about asking. Hello, everyone, says Captain Mustard, who should be editing his own Steve Betty videos. But perhaps, no, he can't have finished. It's only 11:30. Maybe he's having a break from editing and just popping in to say hello. Hello again, Mustard, all edited. Hey, Mustard, how's your dolly? Hi, Mustard, how's Alanis? Hi, Paul. Bloody hell, says Alan Simpson. Someone really wanted that bumper. Did you wind him up by telling him he was driving a glorified Mondeo? A comment which is to X-types what Princess Anne is to scimitars. No, we did that. We talked about that the first time that he turned up in it, because I'm a massive fan of the X-type. So I don't go down that road. I've owned an X-type, and I think that they're fabulous cars. Yeah, okay. They're based on a Mondeo. What's wrong with that? The Mondeo was by far and away the class leader. So, yeah, they're a Mondeo in the dress. They're a Mondeo, in other words, the best car in class, with a load of leather and wood and a Jaguar badge and all of that. What's wrong with that? I think they're fantastic. And so does Steve. Mustard is editing the Steve, Boaty and me thing driving Nigel. It's pretty funny. Yeah, well, it would be. You stuck me in the back and told me to keep my gob shut, and then carefully edited me out of any bloody photos. Do I even get a line in there anywhere? I bet I bleeding don't. Oh dear. Now then. I put a comment on Facebook, on my own personal Facebook earlier, and I would like to talk about that for the next little while, if that's all right with you, good people. Now, randomly on YouTube, I came across a song a few days ago, I rediscovered a song. I came across it on YouTube, haven't listened to it for many, many, many years, and haven't watched the video ever. And it was a song called Kiss Me by a group called Sixpence None the Richer. And that song just, you know how you get trigger songs that just take you back? And that song just took me straight back in time to the 90s. And it opened a bit of a floodgate. And I've been listening to it over and over the last few days. And I've been doing a bit of weeping, darlings. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of weeping, and I'm not absolutely sure why. So I thought I'd talk about it. Now, as I say, it's a bit of an emotional trigger. It takes you back in time. It makes you think about things, and it makes you juxtapose. It makes you think about what you were at that time when you first encountered that song, and what you were doing and how your life was and so on. And then the nature of the song itself and the nature of the video connotes thoughts relating to the context therein and therewith. And so it immediately puts one redolent in mind um, of the hopeless, beautiful romance and naive optimism and joy of the romance that you were encountering at that time. And it's made me a bit weepy, darlings. And I think what I've been getting a little bit weepy about is I think that I've been grieving all of my past relationships, partly because you remember how you felt at the time and the joy of being in love, and partly grieving at their failure because all of my previous partners, I loved them all very dearly indeed, every single one of them. And I probably still do, and probably now always will. And you kind of grieve the fact that they came to an end, that maybe these people are no longer part of your life. You've got no idea what they're doing. Um, Perhaps you might think that actually, yeah, that was my fault. I could have done things a bit differently. I didn't appreciate, all of those thoughts that go on. And then partly you're grieving your lost youth because, let's face it, I'm a lot nearer death than I am birth. And I'm by no means the man that I was, even that relatively short time ago, going back to the 90s when I was all thrusty and incredibly handsome. And young and vigorous. And now I'm not. Now I'm just a shattered husk of an old man that started making noises when he bends down to pick something up, dribbles on his pillow, occasionally dribbles when I'm eating my bloody dinner or doing a live stream or whatnot. And so you're grieving as well for your lost youth. And I'm sure that there's an element as well of grieving the fact that at this point in life, one has ended up kind of alone. I don't count myself as entirely alone because I have my work family, I have you guys. But, in terms of a relationship, and, I'm kind of alone, I guess. And I suppose you grieve that because I don't think anybody goes through their adult life thinking that yeah, I'll end up sad and lonely. That's what I'll do. And never do you end a relationship thinking this will be my last relationship and that's it. From now on, I'm on my Todd. I certainly didn't think that when I ended things with Chinese Madam. Quite the opposite. Obviously, when I ended things with Chinese Madam, Bernard was well and truly on the warpath. And, one thought there was going to be a natural progression there. But as it turns out, there's a very real possibility or even probability that Chinese Madam will be my last ever relationship. So I think you get a bit weepy over that as well. The idea that you've had all of these hopes, all of these dreams, you've had relationships, you've raised children, and then when you get to, an age where, quite frankly, death could come knocking on your door at any moment. I used to be a pro athlete, but I've not led the healthiest lifestyle, have I? I'm as fat as a pig. I drink, I smoke. I could be hit with, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But I could get an old fatal heart attack at any moment, couldn't I? I smoke. I could get the old dreaded diagnosis that smokers live in fear of at any moment. Although Clarkson hasn't had it yet, and he smokes more than I do, so it would be a massive injustice if that did happen. And I think you get a bit weepy and a bit grievy over that you've gone through all of that and then you've ended up entirely alone. And that was what I wanted to talk about, really. The fact that that I've been a little bit weepy over the last few days. And also that, just generally speaking, it can't just be me, because I know, in fact, my friend Rod did a piece about this on, I can't remember if it was on the radio show or if it was actually on one of his stand-ups, but we had spoken about it. And it's noticeable that when you get older, you do get more moist. apart from when I was a very young child, I didn't cry for the best part of 50 years. And now I'll bloody cry if the posh tomatoes are reduced in price in Sainsbury's. It's ridiculous how moist you get. So, and that was it. I just thought I'd talk about that and wonder if that rang any bells with any of you. And do you have little triggers that make you get a little bit nostalgic or weepy or weepy about your current situation or weepy about how you think the future might go? And have you found that you've got more moist and that your emotions have been nearer the surface the older that you get? I mean, talking about grieving over relationships, right? Now, I will hold my hands up. I'm not going to claim to be an incredibly moral man, but I've never been a cheat in romantic terms. I've never cheated on a partner. Never, ever, ever. However, I have been throughout my life what is called a serial monogamist. In other words, I've gone pretty much straight from one monogamous relationship into another. And I've done that all of my adult life since my romantic life started, somewhat later in life than usual. I've told you before, I make no secret of it. I was the oldest virgin in the United Kingdom. Well, it felt like it. I was 21, and most of my mates were like 13 or 14. 21 was like being a granddad. But yeah, throughout my life, and it suddenly occurred to me that this last, however long it's been since Chinese Madam, or since Bernard after Chinese Madam, if you count that, and I don't really, I think this is the first time in my adult life that I've spent any time being single. And that hadn't occurred to me, that all through, I've never been single before. All through my adult life, I've literally gone pretty much seamlessly from one relationship to another, or not literally like that, but there've been a number of serious relationships, and in between those serious relationships, there were people, and it's been a constant. So this last, however long it is, and I'm not sure how long it is, it's about 2 years, isn't it? This is the first time in my life that I've actually been single. And I hadn't really thought about that before, but I thought about it when I got a bit weepy. And I tried to figure out in my mind that how I feel about that and how it's been. And on the whole, what was that? And on the whole, I would have to say I think it's been incredibly positive in many, many ways. Because for the first time in my life, I've been able to be fully 100% selfish and self-centered. And I've never really been able to do that before. I'm sure I've got strong elements of selfishness and whatnot, but I'm also a very family-orientated man. Oh, hang on. What are these pings? Oh, bless you. Bless you. So whenever I've been in a relationship, as far as I'm concerned, my partner comes before me. And I've always, with every single one, I've always put them first. Absolutely, no question, 100%. And if there are kids involved, even though they are stepchildren, effectively, not my own biological children, then the kids come first. And they come before your relationship with your partner or your partner, because I believe that that's the way it should be. Children, if you have children, then those children or that child should be your number one priority above everything else. And if that means that you have to go out and do a job you don't like to give them what they need, that's what you damn well do. And if that means that you don't have a drink at night because you need to pick them up from a party, or you just need to be a good parent and make sure that you could drive them to hospital if you had to, then that's what you do. And if that means that you can't have the car that you want or indulge in the hobby that you want to do because you've got to pay for their school uniforms or their school trips or a family holiday, then that's what you do. And that wasn't even a conscious decision. I've just always known that that is what you do when there are children involved. And I've always done the same with my partners as well. So this last 2 years is probably the only time, or the first time in my life, where I've truly been able to live my own life. And that's particularly true with given my last two relationships, because obviously Chinese madam, bless her, and I loved her to bits. Of course I did. She was wonderful. But she not only took over my life, but turned it on its head, totally changed it. And I had no life of my own. I shared her life. It just happened to be in my house and in my cars and with my time and whatnot. And, I was fine. I invited that. I invited it. I accepted it. And before Chinese Madam, it was Boo. And that was starting a new life with Boo and Little Miss. And so, of course, I prioritized them, and I did what they needed me to do. And I tried to be what they needed me to be. So it's been quite revelationary these last 2 years to start to discover who I actually am and what I like and what I don't like. I think it's only when you have that opportunity. Many people have it when they're much younger or force themselves to have it. I haven't. I've voluntarily given that up. And it's only when you have that you genuinely start to realize how much compromise you've made in previous relationships. And you start to think that actually, perhaps you made too much of a compromise. But then you also think, you think back to your relationships, and every single person that I've been with have been amazing. If they weren't, I wouldn't be with them. I mean, this is going to sound terribly immodest, but I used to be quite a handsome man. I know that's difficult to believe now, but I mean, I was a male model, for goodness sake. So, I know I was not unattractive, not by any means. And I'm not thick. And I was quite successful, and I had money. So without wishing to sound immodest, that meant that in romantic terms, I had the luxury of choice. And I learned very quickly that the trophy partner is a no-go, an absolute non-starter. Now, my father, who also had the luxury of choice, warned me when I was a young buck before I started out on that. And he said, always remember, you need something to talk about when you fall out of bed. So in other words, you can't have a relationship with somebody, or maybe some people can. He couldn't, and I certainly can't. You can't have a relationship with somebody that is based purely upon physical attraction, sexual compatibility, that sort of thing, because life isn't entirely about that. Now, if you've got nothing upstairs, if you're some steroided up bodybuilder who's got sod all in between his ears, then yeah, maybe a trophy wife will be absolutely fine for you, because you don't need any mental stimulation. And that's no offense to steroided up bodybuilders, but I've always needed mental stimulation as well as physical. And, it's important to me that if I'm in a relationship with somebody, and this might sound like a given, but it's not. I've got to like them and I've got to respect them. And there's got to be some shared interests. And if you think that sounds daft, then just think how many people will slag off their exes because of this, that, and the other personality traits, which were there at the beginning. They just chose to ignore them. I never did. And that's why you'll never hear me slag off any of my exes. They were all amazing people. And generally speaking, we had a wonderful time. And looking back, I wonder if the compromises that I voluntarily made actually foreshortened or spelled the end of relationships. Because, you know, on some level, I was unhappy with the situation I found myself in. I'm not certain about this, but perhaps it was a subconscious thing. Whereas in fact, that was my fault for putting myself in that situation in the first place. Certainly with Boo, Boo would urge me to go and do my own thing. Maybe, I mean, knowing what I know now, and Boo and I are still friends, we do still talk. I think Boo is a very wise woman in many ways. And she would urge me, she would say, she would say, go and have a selfish night at Windy Bum. Just go and have a night on your own at Windy Bum. Go and have a couple of nights. It's fine. We don't mind. Go and do this. Go and do that. And of course, I never did. But maybe I should have. And Chinese madam, if I'd have dealt with things differently and kind of said, as we cracked off, instead of saying what I did, which is, you need to feel comfortable, make any changes that you like in the house, make any changes that you like with me and my lifestyle. I want you to feel comfortable. I will fit in around you. If I'd have done that differently and sort of said, look, this is amazing. You're amazing. God knows you're welcome in my home. Let's make it a shared home. However, that does mean that it has to accommodate us both as individuals as well as a couple. And as much as I will certainly compromise my life and make changes, however old I was at the time, I've got things in my life that are important, and I can't change everything for you. I will fit in with you, you fit in with me, and there's a bit of that sort of thing. And maybe if I'd done that, then things would have gone differently, and I wouldn't be a guy sad and living on my own. Except that I'm not sad for and these are all the things that have been whirling around in my mind. And as I say, I listened to a song, "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer, and for many, many reasons, it's just made me a little bit weepy over the last couple of days. And I thought I'd share that with you because in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong, but in my mind, a live stream, or at least a community live stream, and I've always tried to make this about community, it shouldn't all just be about reading out comments. It should be about sharing a bit of yourself with your friends. And hopefully, just as I will always try to give time to each and every one of you, hopefully you will be okay with me when something's gone off with me and I just want to ramble on about my own stuff for 20 or 25 minutes. So hope that's all right with you. I wanted to share it with you. It's a real thing. It has really been happening. And there you go. Literally 4 minutes before this started. And, I've had a great day. I've had a lovely day. I've had an amazing lunch. I've talked online to some of you guys, my friends. What else have I done? I've tidied up. I've potted around the cottage. I've edited a video that reminded me how much I loved yesterday. See, there's another thing. YouTube and days like yesterday could never, ever have happened to me in my life before. because it's time I would never have allowed myself to have. So, you know, there's another kind of example of that. But yeah, been a great day. I'm so looking forward to getting the next 2 videos out from Monday. Everything is so good. And but then again, just 4 minutes before this was due to start, I put the bloody song on again on the video, and I got weepy straight away. Straight away. I don't know what it is about that particular song. It's something to do with the tone, with the lyrics, and subconsciously, and I can't remember where I was, who I was, what I was doing when I first heard the song, but obviously it's hitting a subconscious trigger. And when you're younger, you gloss over all of that shit. It doesn't happen, doesn't matter, it's not part of a thing. Same as talking about relationships. You leave a relationship, you start another one, and that's it. You don't think about it. And then suddenly at some point, and this is what I'm talking about now, I'm grieving over relationships that I've never grieved over before. Never thought of it. And, you know, that's it. And it's obviously just an age thing. Yeah, there might be triggers, but it's an age thing where you start to become reflective. You've got a bit more wisdom. You realize the mistakes that you've made, the things you could have done differently. And this is quite a big one. And when you get to a certain age, you realize that the chickens are going to come home to roost. And when you're a kid, you don't think about the chickens coming home to roost. When you're in your 20s, you don't think about it. When you're in your 30s, you don't think about it. When you're in your 40s, you don't think about it. When you're in your 50s, believe me, you start thinking about it. Things and random things, like relationships. Yeah, I mean, I know some people worry about being single. I was lucky; I never had to. So you never worry about your relationship status because you know there's going to be another one around the corner. Suddenly, you get into your 50s and you look in the mirror. And you look around you and you look at yourself and think, yeah, there might not be another one. That might be it. That last one could be the last one. And you're going to die alone, which sounds dramatic. And it's not really like that at all. You know, my life is great. I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. But there is a little tinge of that, you know, there is a little tinge of that. And there are loads of other chickens that come home to roost as well. Oh God, Pam Ayres. I wish I'd looked after my teeth. I always did look after my teeth, but I knew from an early age that I was going to have problems with my teeth because there were things that needed doing. I've got malignant hyperpyrexia. I couldn't get done when I needed to be done. And, you know, they sort of said that, yeah, you know, when you're older, when you're blah, 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 this is likely to happen, this is likely to happen. Fucking, that's forever away. So you don't think about it. And then suddenly chickens come home to roost and your teeth start falling out. I was warned about my hands. I was, oh God, it's not big and it's not clever. I used to like a bit of fighting. I worked on doors and you know, my hands are pretty much knackered. I've got all they're called boxer's fractures. I've got the broken metacarpals. I've got the broken knuckles, the dislodged knuckles. And I was told one of the times when I was in hospital for one hand or the other, I was set and I was told, look, in later life, you're probably going to suffer from elements of arthritis and whatever from this damage. And you think, yeah, that's forever away. Chickens come home to roost. Suddenly, your hands aren't doing exactly what you want them to do. Loads and loads of stuff like that. Chickens come home to roost and you grieve for your youth in the past when you didn't have to worry about that. And you get a little bit frightened about the future, maybe. And, how many more bloody chickens are going to come home to roost and whatever the hell else is going to go on. And some of them come to roost sooner rather than later. Like, oh, do I want to go into that at midnight when I should be finishing? No, I'll talk about that another day. I was going to talk about the fact that I am pretty much infertile because of the sacrifices that I made for my professional athletic career when I was younger, and I didn't think it would matter. And guess what? It did. And if I made that decision again, then I probably wouldn't make the same decision. But I can't be sure about that. I say I wouldn't make the same decision because I know that my career ended through injury. So I made that sacrifice in vain. But of course, I could never have known that at the time, could I? So maybe I would have made the same decision. Maybe I would have thought that the sacrifice was okay. Anyway, enough of all that. It is actually midnight now, so I'd better catch up with your comments so that, right, here we are. Oh, God, I've missed a lot, haven't I? It's about here I got to. Yes, that's where we got to. That's exactly where we got to. I reckon if your eyes need help, Boaty, you would suit a monocle. I agree. I would rock a monocle, just like Chris Eubank. Did Steve Berry order the chicken? No, he had a kabida with naan. What sauce did he have? He had a mild one. He didn't go for the hot chili sauce. I want to say that came out around 98 or 99, says Alan Simpson. I honestly can't remember. Steve Berry and Allegro Man are the first members of Boaty's Anonymous. Is he off the booze? I'm joking, says Steakold. He's going to go all maudlin now, says Jimmy F500. You're still quite young, Boaty, says the M11. Still so much fire and happiness to come. Chin up, as Brucey would say. I'm grand. That's maybe it came across wrong. I'm not maudlin. I'm not unhappy. Life is amazing. I've just been a bit weepy. And I think that maybe you should be a bit weepy if you want to be happy. Maybe suppressing the old man thing of suppressing emotions isn't actually very good after all. I am the same age as you, Boaty, says Matron, and I don't feel old. In my head and heart, I'm still in my 20s. Yet I feel emotions, etc., a lot stronger than back then. And a couple of joints creak and hurt, but my head and heart are full of hopes, dreams, wishes, and desires. That's it, Trace. That's exactly it. You become a weird dichotomy of it all just it does get a bit weird. Two String says Boaty sounds like he could narrate a famous 5 audiobook. Just saying, spiffings and lashings of whatever. Well, that's public school for you. And I went to a rather good one, if you don't mind. It was certainly expensive. Chin up, says Peter P. You're doing a lot better than the Roses. Jeremy Clarkson smokes his pigs. Mr. Stephen Paddy says, Jason, looking back, were any past relationships on the rebound when you got together with them? No. We're here, we're all your mates, and we all love you drunk, only joking. No, I never did the rebound thing. Never did the rebound thing. And not many relationships ended badly. They were nice relationships. They ran their course. They ended reasonably amicably, and then there was just always another one. And you didn't need to go out looking for it. They were just there. They were just there, and you just slipped into them. That's the way it was with me, anyway. I mean, I like people. I like women. And people are amazing and women are amazing. And the world is just full of fabulous people. The world is full of sexy people, attractive people, interesting people, funny people, intellectual people. There's no shortage. So there's always going to be another one that's going to float your boat or tickle your pickle, isn't there? To be honest, Boaty, says John, since my illness, I've become quite emotional about the silly things, and I'm not ashamed to admit that to the chat and yourself. Good for you. I admit it. What's the animation movie, says Ross? The animation movie Coco. That'll do it for me. I'm a blubbering mess. Oh, yeah. Well, films that get me going. Well, I've told you the Finish a Breakfast at Tiffany's. I haven't seen that for years. Luciano singing Nessun Dorma in the original 3 tennis concert at Caracalla in 91, or was it 90? I think it was 90, wasn't it? That always gets me. It's just the look in his eyes. I mean, I don't watch much in the way of telly anymore. Books will get me. Books will get me more. Boaty never cheated on a woman, but he has sleep with a man, says Jimmy Quinn. Steve Cogg says, when you think about it, Boaty, you do look great single. Try 17 years, Boat, says Simone. Well, I think I probably will if I'm blessed to live that long. I feel like her outlook will always serve you well, Boaty, says Alan Simpson. You act like a man with joie de vivre. You're good at poking fun at yourself and still seem to find joy in many things, and that will all serve you well. I do. I mean, life is an amazing gift, and God knows, I mean, what do I say at the end of every live stream? Take every bit of joy that you can out of tomorrow. And that's exactly what I do. If you do get a woman, Boaty, says Steve Cole, keep her in that cupboard. We'll keep our eyes on her. Get a padlock. Speaking of which, says Jimmy at 500, I'm going to have an exciting day tomorrow. I'm going for a fluoroscopy with a fetching gown, no doubt. I've warned my tinkle to behave. I don't actually know what a fluoroscopy is, but it sounds like it's quite a personal procedure. So good luck for that, mate. Hope it all goes according to plan. The M11 says, I never expected to end up in the life situation I'm in, and it can and does get me down at times. But I'm determined that this isn't the end of my life. It's just a phase, a chapter, and at some point, there will be a new phase or chapter. Life is constantly evolving. Wise words. Yeah, it does that. And my piece of advice regarding that would be always keep doors open. And even if you think there isn't a door there, and there's never going to be a door there, always keep the door open. Sean talks about this, and I think he's right. If you would like something to happen in life, then at least you have to open the door for it to walk in or for you to be able to walk through. And I think that makes total sense. So you might not believe that something is going to happen. You might fear that it never will happen, but keep a door open. I know so many people who want this, that, or the other, and they never open the door. The door is closed and they keep the door closed, and then they're annoyed or upset that they can't walk through the door, or the thing can't walk through the door to them. And I know that that's metaphorical, but, and again, you know, that's true of many, many things in life. It's true about jobs, your profession, your hobby, your this, that, and the other. But it is true about relationships. And again, going back to running singles for all these years, I see so many people who say, oh God, I'll always be single and I wish I wasn't. And yet, the way that they comport themselves, the way they live their life, the way they portray themselves, it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They are making the thing that they fear happen, or they're certainly encouraging it, or they're certainly, at the very least, not discouraging it. They're not opening that door. Always keep the doors open. Neil says, good things will come to those who wait. Someone will turn up for you, says Neil. And Matron says, indeed, there's so much to look forward to and experience, M11. So, yeah, absolutely. Catch you all later. You're all getting too silly, says Steekold. And yeah, we've had this before, haven't we? If you actually talk about something that matters, personal feelings, some people will say, I don't want to watch this. See you later. That's what happened with Cheeseburger, and it will happen with many others. And if that's the way you feel, fine. You know, tune in for another live stream or never come back or whatever. In a community environment, personal feelings are always going to be welcomed and understood, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have kids, says Simone. Never seen the point, as the planet is overpopulated already. I don't need to add to it. Yeah, that's a point of view. I understand that. I would have thought twice about having children myself. That is one of the reasons. And even if I could have had kids myself, I would have thought twice. I mean, that's one of the reasons, overpopulation. I would worry that I was being arrogant in thinking that my genes were so amazing they should be passed on. And also, there would be the concern that I've got a 50-50 chance of passing on to any of my kids the fact that they would be positive for malignant hyperpyrexia. So those are all thoughts. But as it turned out, guess what? Turns out in life that there are not enough good fathers or father figures to go round. So it's very easy to get into a relationship where kids are involved and the kids are already there. So you're not adding to the overpopulation program. They haven't got a very good father or a very good father figure, and you can step in and you get all the joy of the children. You're not overpopulating the planet, and you get to give kids who are all born innocent, you get to give some kids a much better chance in life. So that worked for me. I struggle to listen to Forever Young by Alphaville, says Alan. It makes me feel really uncomfortable as it reminds me that I'm no longer as young and carefree as I once was. And that there are people in my life. I love that phrase, young and carefree. One of my heroes is a guy called Lionel Fignon. Died far too young. Died at the age that I am now, the big C, I'm afraid. And he was, you know, a champion cyclist. Some of you might recognize the name. Most of you, I imagine, won't. And his autobiography was called We Were Young and Carefree. And it's one of my favorite books in the world. And I do love that. I do love that phrase. Oh, sorry, Alan went on. There are people in my life that will not be there forever. I don't want to face up to that yet. Completely understand that. I've you know, I've said goodbye to all of my family. I've lost both my parents. I've lost all of my siblings. There's literally, I am last man standing. So, and it's not a pleasant thing to go through, and it's not a pleasant thing to deal with. So I can perfectly well understand that, Alan. Sorry, Boaty, says Jimmy Quinn. My wife will always come before my children. Each to their own, Jimmy. To me, that's I feel differently, but each to their own. I love doing my own thing, says Matron. I love my own company. You have to be your own person with your own interests. Um, yeah, I've always believed that a relationship is made up of two individual people. But maybe I've forgotten that sometimes, and I've tried to meld myself into the other person too much, and not clung on to enough of my own individuality. But in principle, I totally agree. A good relationship is made up of two individuals who add to each other, and they don't take anything away from each other. Yes, says the M11. So many people feel they have to change and conform, but everybody needs to be themselves first and a partner second. Nobody should feel they need to change for somebody else. Well, there I disagree with you, M11. There I disagree with you. Maybe that's because you're a woman. Um, I think I know, and I have known a lot of men who are husbands and who are fathers. And quite honestly, I think they should change themselves a lot. And they shouldn't think that they can carry on being who they want to be and being Jack the lad. And, you know, I take your point, but I think that if a man or a boy decides to become a husband or a partner, and especially a father, I think they should change because nobody is born as a father. You're born, you're a child, you're a teenager, you're an adolescent, um, and those are selfish times when you can be selfish. I think that when you become a partner and a parent, I think you absolutely should change. And I know so many people who whose families would be happier and more functional if they did change. But yeah, you can go too far. Alan says, "Thanks for sharing, Boaty. I think we can all. I think we all learn from relationships and can relate." Um, and David Fisher says, "It's a good thing to talk about how you feel." Hello again, says Mustard. Boaty, your table's getting bigger, says Steve. Matron says, "I don't grieve about my past relationships. We broke up for reasons, and although at the time it was painful, looking back, I'm glad to not be in those relationships." I must be lucky, says Jimmy Quinn. I've been with my wife for nearly 47 years. Well, maybe you've been lucky, Jimmy. Maybe she has too. Or maybe you've both worked at it, you know? I've always looked after my teeth, says Matron, but my gums hate me. Yeah. I will die lonely, says Simone. I've known this for 2 decades. You might die alone, Simone, but that doesn't have to mean lonely. As I say, I've been single, and I live very, very alone. I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, arse end of nowhere, up on the moors in the Peak District. I'm certainly on my own in the house, but I don't feel lonely. I've got my work family. I've got you guys. I've got other friends. Very seldom do I feel lonely. I enjoy my own company as well. But I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. And again, that's part of the thing that I was talking about. You might have great friends in your life, you might have great community, but you think, well, it would be nice that when I do turn my face toward, if there was somebody in the house who could ring 999 and get them to come and get me and put me in the skip. Those flowers need changing, says Simone. I know. Steve, Cold, what are you banging on about? Neil says, boxers fractures are no joke. 13 times both hands and rapid clicking in both hands. Lost feeling in fingers. Can't feel heat and pressure in them, unfortunately. It's a misspent youth in being an idiot. Yeah, totally. I mean, the state of my, oh, God. Yeah, but you don't think about it at the time, do you, Neil? You don't think about it at the time. Like I said, it's chickens coming home to roost. And that's me saying I'm an idiot and not you, says Neil. Neil, we're both idiots. The song Kiss Me came out in 1998 in the USA, says Jimmy Quinn. Ah, there we are. There we are. I found that fascinating, says Sherry. Got to be me. Most of what you express made you a perfect man. Blimey. Blimey, I am anything but a perfect man. But I think that if you are, well, not just a man, I think as a person, if you learn anything as you go through life, you try to eradicate some of your imperfections. I mean, we're all humans. We're born imperfect. We will die imperfect. But it doesn't do any harm to try to be, in some way, the best person that you can be. Boaty with a monocle would look like Lord Charles, says Jimmy Quinn. And a lot of people won't know who Lord Charles is. Lord Charles was a ventriloquist dummy way back when. And yeah, I think I probably would. The M11 says, I do think when we get to our age, we're fishing in a much smaller pool because a lot of the decent ones are all married off and settled down. And we're falling apart ourselves, and we can only hope that, that when we do find our fish, they accept us for all of our flaws. I love the open door analogy, says Matron. Yeah, I believe in that. It's something I believe in. It's not something that I read. It's just something that I believe in, that, you know, yeah, keep the doors open. In other words, obviously it's a metaphor, but if there are things that you want in your life, keep the doors open. In other words, structure your life so that don't expect them to happen. Don't be upset or downcast if they don't happen, but structure your life in a way that means that if they were to happen or potentially happen, then everything is in place for them to happen. And our friend Sean is a perfect example of that. If you watched his videos going back when, then, you know, he was in this situation and he needed his situation to change. And something inside his head told him to, even though there was no way that he could make it happen, prepare for it. So that if by some incredible mischance it did happen, he would be ready for it. So he did a massive declutter and this, that, and the other. And guess what? 6 months later, or whenever it was, entirely out of the blue, and he could never have predicted it, it happened and he was ready for it. And it applies to many, many things. Your profession, your love life, your emotional life, all sorts of things. Keep the door open. Keep all the doors open. Oh, and Jimmy F500, it's an X-ray on the digestive tract. Oh, and you'll have to drink barium, whatever that is. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Me too, matron, says the M11. I learned that rather late in life, however. Do you remember, says matron, we used to call it open windows and having a window, and I'm flinging my window open, etc. And that's aimed at M11. That's clearly something that they used to discuss as sisters. Boaty, how much Steve Berry video have you got, and much are you gonna show us? Well, as I said, Steve, there are 3 videos. The one is already up. The second will be the drive back from Istanbul to the yard with Steve driving my car. And then the third video, which will go out at the 1919 slot on Thursday, will be the full, unexpurgated, unedited lunch video. And trust me, you don't want to miss that. Okay, I take your point, Boaty, says EM11. I'm just thinking it's better to find the right person instead of expecting the wrong partner to change. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of singing off the same hymn sheet, really. You don't want to fundamentally change a person. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. You don't want to get into a relationship with somebody that would need to fundamentally change in order to be acceptable to you. And I think that when we're younger, particularly women, they do go into relationships with men on the basis that they can and will change them. So, yeah, you shouldn't go into a relationship with somebody when you know that they would fundamentally need to change in order for the relationship to succeed. But it is reasonable to expect, at the very least, priorities to change, I think. I mean, if you get into a relationship as a childless couple, then yeah, you can both be yourselves and there's no need to change. But then, you know, if a child comes along or if you formalize a relationship, then, you know, there has to be some change of priorities, maybe some change of lifestyle, that kind of thing. I mean, you know, if a guy's thing is to go out drinking until 2 o'clock every night and come home roaring pissed and spend all of his wages on that, then that's not going to be, that's fine when they're single. That's kind of fine when they're in a childless early stage relationship, but it's not okay when there are kids because, well, for all of the obvious reasons, that's the kind of change that I'm talking about. Gosh, we've gone a bit over time, haven't we? But I'm glad we did. I like to have. I like. Occasionally, I like the live streams to go in this direction, so there's a bit of a different dynamic. I could go a whole day without speaking to a human in person, says Jimmy F500, but I don't mind. I do that most days, says Matron, and it's great. See, I don't think I could. I struggle with a day. The balance as it is at the moment is fine. But I know from experience, before I had things to do on my day off when I was single, that was the only day I struggled with as a single man, Mondays. And having that 24 hours, for me, it was too much. The time before going to work, fine. The time coming back from work, fine. I love it. It's amazing. But that 24 hours for me was just too much. But then, you know, I don't have to worry about that anymore now, do I? Thanks to you lot and the stuff I do on a Monday. Also, the universe gives us stuff once we are ready for it, Trace. Again, that's the door open argument, hasn't it? Some people crave face-to-face, says Jimmy F500, but doesn't bother me if I don't. But sometimes it's good to meet the old human creatures. I'm going to sleep, says Simone. Night all, ta-ta for now. Night to night all. Encouraging chat this evening, says Peter P. And yeah, it is that time. Well, it's past that time. Let's all say our good night. Good night, Steve Cole. Bless you, mate. And I'm not going to apologise for this live stream going in that direction. Every now and then, I think it's good and I think it's healthy. And selfishly, then I think I probably needed to talk about it. And, you know, it's a bit like my old relationships, isn't it? Most of the time, I'm happy to sit and, chat with you and hear all about your lives and read out your comments and whatnot. Sometimes I just need to vent a little bit and let out what's on my mind because, in a way, you lot, my inner scrotum, you're kind of like my closest friends. And if I can't do it with you lot, who can I do it with? But I try not to do it too often. Good night, chat, and good night, Boaty, says John Stoodley. Just remember, Boaty, says Neil, you're like family to me and Sophie, and I feel exactly the same way. Night all, says Mustard. See you at Mustard's, maybe, and Boaty's definitely tomorrow night. And same as all of the inner scrotum. Much love to all, says Neil. Oh, bless you. Good live stream, Boaty, says Jimmy Quinn. The chat can go in any direction, says Jimmy at 500. Oh, and don't forget to like, says Jimmy Quinn. I hope you all enjoyed the first Steve Betty video. I hope you enjoyed the second one tomorrow. And I know you will enjoy the lunch video. Thursday night, 1919. And of course, there's Mustard's video as well, or videos. I'm sure there's going to be more than one. And the great thing about me and Mustard is we do our videos so differently, so that even when it's the same place and the same day and the same people, the videos will be very different. Night all, says Jimmy Quinn. And yeah, a very good night to you all. Thank you so much for this live stream. I've enjoyed it. I feel better for it. And I'm probably going to go and listen to that bloody song again. Although I think there are some videos to catch up with. Oh, I've still got Clarkson's Farms to catch up with. Oh, and thank you to everybody who's messaged me about Clarkson's Farm. People who've never seen it before and have started watching it from the very beginning, series one, because of me. Sean is one. Sean binge watched the whole of series one. Who was it who pinged me earlier? Oh, God, I know who it was. And it was, hold on. Oh, it was Russ. Of course, it was Russ. Yeah, Russ is getting into Clarkson's Farm. So, thank you to everybody who messaged me about that. I did like the Steve Betty video. Looking forward to the rest, says Jimmy at 500. Play the song, says Steve Cog. Now I'm going to bugger off, mate, and get my supper. Mr. Stephen Paddy from Port Sunlight on the Widow, the Leisure Peninsula, says, good night, all. We'll look forward with Neil and Sophie to the live when they're staying at yours. Oh, my God. Oh, God, yeah, of course, next Monday. Yeah, next Monday, Neil and Sophie are going to be in the house. God, how's that going to work with the M11 in there as well? Bloody hell. I might just leave those three to it and I'll sit out in the garden and smoke my head off. And get drunk as a lord. Right, that's it, darlings. Do watch tomorrow's video, number 2 video with Steve Betty. And do join me again tomorrow night, same time, same place, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. God. I loved the wine o'clock news. That was the best thing for a long time. And I know some of you have loved it too. Thank you for all of the feedback on the on Emma and my live stream, second attempt last night. Thank you for all the lovely feedback on that. I guess it does, Neil, because I mean you're going to be here. I can't exclude you, can I? So I guess it's going to be a 4-way live Monday night. God only knows how that's going to go, especially as we're vertical. I know it gets you laughing, matron. That is it. I'm going. I'm knackered. I need to sleep. I'm so looking forward to my curry. Food. Staff curry tonight. Tomorrow, I'm having garlic chicken, chipolata sausage, creamy mashed potato, green beans, garlic and herb stuffing, Yorkshire pudding and an amazing chicken gravy. God, I'm looking forward to that as well. Can you please do a quick mustard impression, Boaty? Oh, God, at this time of night? I was at the car yard with Steve Berry on Monday, and I made him a cup of Earl Grey, and I said, Steve, you're quite the media personality. You're famous worldwide, and of course, you were on Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson. Would you mind awfully if I broke wind? There you go. There's a quick mustard impression. Right, darlings, have a safe and peaceful night. Take great care of yourselves and those who you love and who love you. Take every bit of joy that you possibly can out of tomorrow. Much, much love from me. See you tomorrow night. It's going to be... Yeah, okay, that's on the cards, matron. We've got a new drain pipe of dreams coming out as well. Join me tonight. Not tonight. Don't join me tonight. Well, it is tonight. It's the morning, isn't it? Join me tonight, 11 o'clock, Wednesday night live. Much love from me. Thank you for you and indeed.